The prophet Jeremiah received a vision from God. This vision was not just any ordinary vision. It was a profound message that would shape his understanding and mission. Jeremiah, a man chosen by God, often found himself in deep contemplation, seeking divine guidance in the vast wilderness. In this vision, he saw an almond branch. The almond branch, delicate yet strong, stood out vividly in his mind. It was a sight that carried significant meaning far beyond its simple appearance. God asked Jeremiah what he saw. This question was not just about the physical sight, but about understanding the deeper symbolism behind it. Jeremiah said, "I see a rod of an almond tree." His response was immediate and clear, reflecting his attentiveness to God's revelations. God was pleased that Jeremiah saw correctly. This moment of recognition was crucial, as it showed Jeremiah's readiness to perceive and interpret divine signs. This was no ordinary branch. It was unique, chosen specifically to convey a message. It was a symbol, a message from God. The almond branch symbolized vigilance and the fulfillment of God's promises. The almond tree is special. Known for its early blooming, it heralds the arrival of spring, a time of renewal and new beginnings. It is the first tree to bloom in the spring. This early blooming is a sign of hope and anticipation, marking the end of winter's dormancy. This early blooming is important. It signifies that God is always ahead, preparing the way and setting things in motion even before we realize it. It tells us that God is ready to act. Just as the almond tree blooms early, God is vigilant and ready to fulfill his promises at the right time. He is watchful and ready to fulfill his promises. This vision reassured Jeremiah of God's unwavering attention and readiness to bring his words to fruition. This branch was a sign for Jeremiah. It was a tangible reminder of God's commitment and the certainty of his words. It meant that God's words would come true. The vision of the almond branch was a powerful testament to the faithfulness and reliability of God's promises. God explained the vision to Jeremiah. He showed him an almond branch, a symbol rich with meaning and significance. He said, "I am watching over my word to perform it. Just as the almond tree is the first to awaken in spring, so too is God, vigilant and alert." The Hebrew word for almond, shaked, sounds like the word for watching, shakt. This wordplay is important. It underscores the connection between the almond tree and God's watchfulness. It emphasizes that God is always watching. He sees everything. Nothing escapes his notice. He keeps his promises. Just as the almond tree blossoms faithfully each year, God is faithful to his word. He is faithful to his word. His promises are sure and steadfast. The almond tree stands as a testament to this truth. God's watchfulness is a comfort to those who love him. It means that he is always near, always present, always caring for his people. It is a warning to those who disobey him. His watchful eye sees all, and his justice is sure. The almond tree, with its early blossoms, serves as a reminder of this truth. The almond branch reminds us that God is always at work. He is constantly bringing about his plans and purposes, even when we cannot see it. He is bringing about his plans and purposes. Just as the almond tree goes through seasons of growth and harvest, so too does God work in our lives, bringing his promises to fruition. The almond branch also has a darker meaning. It is a symbol of judgment. Just as the almond tree is the first to bloom in the spring, so God's judgment will come swiftly and surely. Jeremiah's prophecy was a message of judgment. The people of Judah had turned away from God. They were worshipping idols. God was going to punish them for their sin. The almond branch was a warning. It reminded the people that God's judgment was coming. It was coming soon. They needed to repent and turn back to God. Section 4. Hope in the almond blossom. Even in judgment there is hope. The almond tree, with its delicate blossoms, stands as a testament to this truth. Its beauty emerges even in the harshest conditions, reminding us that hope can flourish in the most unexpected places. The almond branch is not only a symbol of death and judgment, it carries a deeper meaning, one that speaks of renewal and the promise of a brighter future. As the first tree to bloom in the spring, it heralds the end of winter and the beginning of new life. It is also a symbol of life and resurrection. The transformation from a barren branch to a blossoming tree mirrors the journey from despair to hope, from death to life. This powerful imagery resonates through various cultures and tradition. In the Bible, the almond blossom represents new beginnings. It is a sign of God's promise and faithfulness. Just as the almond tree blooms with the first signs of spring, so too does hope bloom in our hearts when we trust in his promises. This symbolism is also seen in the story of Aaron's rod. A seemingly lifeless piece of wood, it was chosen by God to demonstrate his power and authority. The rod's miraculous transformation serves as a reminder that nothing is impossible for God. This rod was a dead piece of wood. It had no life, no potential. Yet in God's hands, it became a symbol of hope and renewal. This story encourages us to believe in the possibility of transformation, even when all seems lost. But God caused it to bud, blossom, and bear fruit. This miraculous event was a clear sign of his divine intervention. It showed that God can bring life out of death, hope out of despair, and beauty out of barrenness. This miracle showed that God had chosen Aaron and his descendants to be priests. It was a powerful affirmation of his will and purpose. The almond branch, therefore, is not just a symbol of life, but also of divine selection and favor. The almond branch reminds us that even in the darkest of times, God can bring forth new life. It is a beacon of hope, a promise that no matter how bleak our circumstances, there is always the potential for renewal and growth. He can restore what has been broken. Just as the almond tree blooms again after the harsh winter, so too can our lives be restored and renewed. This message of hope is timeless and universal. He can make all things new. The almond blossom, with its delicate beauty and resilient spirit, is a powerful symbol of this truth. It reminds us to hold on to hope, to believe in the possibility of new beginnings, and to trust in the promise of a brighter future. Section 5. A promise fulfilled. The almond branch is a powerful symbol in the Bible. It speaks to us of God's watchfulness, his judgment, and his promise of fulfillment. It reminds us that God is always at work. The almond branch is a call to vigilance. We must be watchful for God's hand in our lives. We must be ready to obey his word. The almond branch is a call to faithfulness. We must trust that God will keep his promises. We must never give up hope.